Welcome to Outside the Frame, a podcast for wedding industry professionals to learn how to be better humans in business and life.
We're your hosts,
Kaitlyn of Skywater Photo and Film,
and Kaylyn of Wandering Wildflower Films. We're here to create a supportive and meaningful space for diverse voices to discuss social and personal issues that impact wedding pros.
Our hope is that collectively, we can bring more of ourselves and the things that matter to the forefront of our work in the wedding industry and give all of us the courage to focus our business around who we are and what we care about.
We're so glad you're joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back. We are so excited to have you all back here at Outside the Frame podcast. We are going to talk about values today, why values are important to share as a small business. And then we'll also talk about what our personal values are as business owners, as humans, and kind of like how we're bringing that out into the forefront of our business and how that helps us run our business. Why are values important for us to share as a business?
What's really cool to see is over the last 5+ maybe 10 years is that especially as millennials and Gen Z are shopping for everything, not just wedding industry related, but as they look to find employers, right, for their careers, as they look to buy big purchases, they're primarily wanting to work with and purchase from businesses that align with their own values and businesses that make it very clear and upfront how they stand on a variety of things. And we see that playing out even as recently with all of these, pushbacks on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how people feel about it. I mean, people are boycotting certain brands and choosing to support others that are taking a stand and continuing to support programs that are important to them. So I think that it's really helpful for anybody to know where business owners stand on certain things so that there are no questions or uncertainties and that they can have complete trust that who they're working with aligns with their own personal values.
Years ago, it was certain groups of people that were doing that. And I think now it's more everyone is kind of really looking at, does this align with my own values? Do I want to support this business? Because oftentimes our power is our money and where we put it. And so if we're going to put our money into something, we want it to be supporting something that we also believe in.
Yeah, we've talked about representation being super important. I feel like it also goes beyond that because there's so many people that are still in a process of improving things over time, gaining more experience with working with a variety of people, a variety of cultures, a variety of body types, skin colors, etc., that I think sometimes people get scared almost that they're coming across a certain way. And I think it's important to at least make statements, have something put out there of where you stand, even if you don't have visual proof. And so I think that that's something that we're seeing a lot of larger companies do. It's not just, oh, well, cool, like they're doing commercials now that feature a variety of people, but that they're also putting out public statements and putting money towards certain types of organizations and donating or volunteering or whatever it is, that there's a variety of ways that you can continue to show support and be a little bit more transparent about your values.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it from all different facets. When we were looking for wedding rings, there were certain companies that we were like, ooh, we don't want to buy from them because we don't agree with what they believe in. So it's really, really important for us as business owners and as other business owners to be in the forefront of that transparency and absolutely putting action into it of not just, oh, I'm going to visually represent this, but also I'm going to donate money and I'm going to make a difference in these communities and be a true ally and not just pretend that I'm an ally. I think some of that can happen where it's almost like virtue signaling or like pretending to support because you want to blend in or you want more business, but
Right.
That's not the point. Like you want to really truly be living your value. It's better that you're open and honest about your value, even if it's not a popular opinion. It's better that you follow that and stick with it than pretend to like blend in with everybody else and not really support that community, but pretend to. We should be doing what's true to us as a business owner, not what we think is going to be agreeable in the industry.
Yeah, as long as, what you're doing is coming at a place of something personal to you, right? And that it's not pushing judgment or shame on anybody else. It's really just, about you personally. I think that that's where all of this kind of comes back to. 10, 20 years ago, it was like greenwashing. Everybody was trying to make themselves seem greener in a lot of ways. And even still, we see tons of food in the marketplace, tons of clothing, whatever, that are trying to make it seem like they're being eco-friendly when they're really not, just to sell, just to sell more. But I
Yeah.
feel like we're also seeing that play out now with a bunch of organizations also trying to show pride. And I love that more companies are coming out there and trying to basically make a statement of like, no, we're here for you. And that's great. It does make you wonder how many of them are doing it from an inauthentic place just to sell sell more stuff with a queer pride colored logo version on a new shirt just to sell a new item. So I think that that's really tricky to kind of navigate in this landscape.
Yeah, it truly is. And I think that comes down to the idea of just like being authentic, just like you said. Like we as business owners, all we can do is be authentic to who we are. And again, as long as it's coming from love and kindness. If your belief maybe isn't coming from love and kindness, maybe we shouldn't be totally upfront about that. But I guess then you're not being truly authentic to yourself. And there are some people out there that they believe that what they're following or who they are as a person is kind, even though maybe outwardly it's not coming that way. I think our own truth is the truth. The way that we live our life, the way that we see our life is true to us. Whether everybody agrees with that or not is always up for debate. But I think being our true, authentic selves does sometimes lead to, I don't know, questionable choices, I guess, which is
Yeah.
tricky because you're like, well, I want everyone to be nice and kind and authentic. But it's like, yeah, if you want people to be authentic, then there is going to be some nastiness that comes out because not everybody has that empathy and love in the forefront of their mind. And is that okay? I think that's a big question to consider as just a human being. If someone truly feels a certain way, is that okay? As long as they're not hurting anybody by doing whatever they're doing, is that okay?
Hmm.
I don't know. I think that's a tricky line to ride.
I think it'll help having a variety of voices on here so that we can talk about things from a different perspective to really get a sense of how that plays out
Mhm.
in the real world.
It's hard to understand other people's perspectives. And so until you hear somebody else say it or somebody else share their experience, you don't truly understand it. You don't truly empathize with them because you don't understand. That is your bubble. I
Mhm.
think of cults and communities that are very sheltered, that is all they know. They don't know anything else. They don't understand that there's different ways of living, and they don't understand that maybe the situation that they're in isn't the healthiest. We often do need to be able to have those other voices come in and say, actually, here's another perspective and here's another perspective. And that's where empathy is built, is by listening and hearing their story and truly understanding where they're coming from and understanding their feelings around that really helps us build empathy. Then you're able to have more kindness and joy that comes from that because you're like, oh, now I understand. And maybe my worldview is a little bit bigger now than it was before. I think for me as a human, I'm always wanting to be as authentic to myself as possible to then allow others to feel as authentic as they can. My greatest joy is when someone can just be them and they don't have to worry about anything else. Like that is what I always push for because it helps me feel more confident in who I am because I'm also like stepping into me and who I am as Kaylyn instead of just what I think I should be or what box I think I should put myself in that situation. Instead, I'm like showing up completely as me and believing what I believe and sharing what I believe, and then allowing others to either join me in that and accept me for who I am. Or if they don't want to accept me, then like, that's okay because I already have accepted that that's who I am and I love who I am. So I think that's an important thing. And then when you can show that to others, I think it really helps them feel more confident in their own values as well.
Totally agree. I feel like talk about having values as humans, right? It's not just in our business that's important, but if we kind of start all before that, like in the last episode, I talked about doing a lot of self-discovery and reflection before doing a full rebrand. And I think that a lot of that came from a very individual personal place and being more authentic to who I am as a person. And I feel like when we're able to do that as ourselves and being more true to who we are, then we're also able to feel more connected with other people in our community. It allows you to also find a new community because of how you feel, right? We're also able to build relationships that way and connections in ways that we hadn't thought possible, maybe, especially if you feel like you're surrounded by a bunch of people who don't feel the same way that you do. Moving to a different location, finding a different community can like really open up your worldview and a whole world of possibilities. We're in a business that is also so personal. It's most often when people are hiring somebody for their wedding in one way, shape, or form, they are likely working with either a solopreneur or a very small business. And I mean small businesses in like under 10 or 20 employees. Even if you have a team, chances are in the wedding industry, I can't even fathom what the actual statistic must be, but most of us are small businesses. And I think that when we start to dive deeper in how we feel, then it also gives us a set of guiding principles, a North Star to follow, and to allow us to improve our business, not just in a way of, we talk about improving our businesses, like improving sales and efficiency and all this stuff, but it actually allows us to actually create a better, more authentic business and continue growing that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also helps us make a bigger impact in our couples' lives and the world around us. We are emanating these values and these beliefs and our uniqueness. And then that's making a bigger impact around us because now we're more comfortable to speak out. We're more comfortable to show up to events. We're more comfortable to create that community and to show up as us. When you are finding your place somewhere new or even somewhere you've lived for so long, but maybe you're, different than you used to. I think back to people who maybe still live in the same town as they grew up in. We are not the same people we were in high school. Like I am a totally different person. And when you accept that growth and you move on and maybe you still have connections, but you're also making more friends and you're making your friend group bigger and it's more elaborate and it's more colorful and it's more diverse, you're able to, yeah, just live in that uniqueness. And I think that's a really special thing to be able to do. And it's honestly a really brave thing to do. And I think it can be scary, especially as a new business owner or as someone who maybe is new to an area, to just show up as yourself because you want to be liked. That's what we want, right? Like as humans, we want to
Yeah.
be loved, liked, and respected. That's it. Like that's kind of our core feeling. And so when we can have the bravery to show up 100% as us and just live that truth, I think it also is just a really powerful thing because then it just like settles into even deeper and you're like, wow, I'm so much happier because I'm fully living my truth. I assume you feel that as you're getting into your bisexuality and like getting more comfortable in that space. And for me, like I'm just getting more comfortable being an ally in that space because I've always felt very much an ally for LGBTQ, but I didn't feel like, oh, I can't show up to these events because this isn't for me, this is for them. But it is for me as well because I want to show up for them. I want to say, hey, I am here as an ally. I love
Mhm.
you for who you are. And I will laugh with you and cry with you and be here to fight with you. And I think that's also super important.
Yeah, I mean, we need more people like that in the world. We need more people to be able to say, "Hey, I may not fully understand, but I'm willing to still be respectful. I'm willing to still be accepting. I'm willing to still be supportive, no matter what that looks like." What's funny to me about being bi and queer in general is also that I also didn't. I say didn't as if it's in past tense, but for like a long time, it's been really hard to even say that I feel like I deserve to be in the community, right?
Mhm.
Um, because I didn't feel like I knew where I belonged. Because if I wasn't fully gay, then where do I fall? And so now at least we're getting to this point of accepting that everybody's on a spectrum. It is like super colorful. We have a wide range of people in this world, and that the more that we are able to kind of come at this from a perspective of accepting others for just being who they are, then we all come at this world from a better perspective and being more supportive. It can be really tricky to see it from that perspective, but also know that even people in the community also sometimes question, do I belong here, right? Where do I belong? If I don't belong fully in the queer community and I don't belong fully in the straight heteronormative community either, where does that leave me? So yes, I think that, showing allyship, and being clear on your values is really important. And even like you mentioned, moving to a new location, even if you don't, thinking through what some of your most important values are can really help connect you to another community. I felt really lucky in the sense that moving to Washington State last year, randomly stumbled on some sort of Facebook post in a Facebook group that talked about Emerald Hour, which is a sustainable focused organization here in Washington. And I was like, immediately, these are my people. And I hadn't quite felt that way before. It didn't mean that there weren't people that I knew who cared about the environment, but to actually be creating an organization that was so focused on it, I was like, that's so important to me. That's so cool. Like how they're
Yeah.
doing it. They're actually doing it. And they're not the only ones. There's a whole other community in British Columbia doing it up there. There's a whole other community in the UK, right? So it's just so cool to see that it doesn't have to feel so segmented and that we don't have to stay like in our bubbles. We can find connections with other people that share the same values that we do.
And we grow into those spaces. As we grow, as we get more comfortable in who we are, we grow into those spaces. And I think that's okay. And I think it's important too, what you talked about of like not feeling enough of one thing or the other. I think a lot of people struggle with that in so many different facets of their lives. It's important for people to know that like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to be in the middle. It's okay to not know exactly which side you're on. Find your space within it, and that'll grow and that'll change as you get more comfortable with who you are. It's important to know that that's okay and that's normal, and that a lot of us are in that place. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah. We're
think we
all feeling
forget.
it.
Yeah, we're always like, oh, I'm in this, it's just me. Like I'm just in this bubble and I'm the only one struggling with this. And it's like, no, you are not alone. And I think that's such a key to remember about anything.
And yeah, and that no one's perfect and that like we're
No.
all going to continue to improve ourselves. That's half of what this podcast is for. When we start talking about these values, what would you say are your core values that you want to start bringing to the forefront?
In the end, it comes down to like this just core feeling of just like love. I think so much in this world could be solved if we were just kind and we loved each other. Like it sounds so silly and like so simple, but I feel like if we were just kind to each other and we just loved each other, so many problems would be done. There's just so many core things of if we can just be kind to each other, be empathetic towards each other, it would be so much better. And so for me, I think like that's my like very deep core value that really encompasses so many other values is just that like everyone deserves to be loved and they also deserve to love themselves for who they are, for their full uniqueness, for their whole identity. Every experience that we've had, there's certain people that like certain types of music that you're like, wow, that's interesting. I didn't expect that out of you. But again, like, why are we putting people in boxes? Just accept them as they are, accept their uniqueness. And I think for me, like, that's what I want to just share out into the world that you are loved in that I am here to support you and to celebrate your uniqueness because it is so special. Yeah, like that's it. I just like you were loved and you were unique and that is perfect. And just embrace that because I think in the end like that's where we can all just be so happy and so joyful in our lives is when we're fully unique, like living our unique truths and just really being more vocal about my beliefs, especially as a newer business owner in my own company. I've really stepped away from being super vocal about things because I'm afraid to step on toes or I'm afraid to be seen a certain way or I'm afraid to like lose out on bookings because I believe one thing versus another. That's such a silly thing to feel. So I'm done doing that. I'm done hiding behind this like, oh, I'm not going to talk about it. It's like, no, I'm going to have a podcast and we're going to talk about all the things and I'm going to be honest and open about everything that I feel and we're just going to go for it and it's going to be great.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just reminds me of one of the very first events that I went to as a full-time business owner was this, I'm pretty sure it was like a Women's Day, International Women's Day conference in Denver. Someone was speaking about how I don't think anybody in this space in our industry is 100% at your core vanilla. Like they talked about this when you just think of ice cream flavors. We all have different flavors of ice cream. And you know what? Yes, vanilla's fine. It's great. But do you want your brand to be vanilla? Do you as a person want to feel vanilla? Probably not. If you do, that that's I
To
guess
each
that's
their
fine.
own.
Each their own. But I think that we all like, maybe just like a little bit of sprinkles or a little bit of chocolate or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think that's the way it should be. We're all really unique, and I see that coming out now, even with couples who are straight. I've had brides wear pantsuits. I've had grooms wear super colorful outfits and flowers. There's just a whole world out there of possibilities that it doesn't have to be so
Mhm.
traditional if you don't want it to be. And I think that really gets at the core of a lot of what we're talking about here is, when you are true to yourself, you also aren't likely to judge because you feel confident in who you are. You feel comfortable in your own skin, that it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You have the courage because you're already being brave by being yourself. And now you have the courage to like stand up for other people as well because you're like, wow, I can be myself. Why can't they be themselves? That also helps us be better allies because if we're living in our true selves and our true uniqueness, then we can also show up for others. It's like what is it? You can't love someone else until you love yourself, I think is the saying.
Yeah, something like that.
You have to fully love who you are before you can love somebody else. A lot of society, the issues are coming from our own self-hatred. Something really incredible that one of the women said at the women's panel that I was at, she was talking about how we as girls were told that we hate each other. We are so put against each other. And really in the end, like that's a lie. That's not true. We do not hate each other. We've signed up for this crazy thing that the society has told us that like women don't like women, and that's just not true. And from that, like you just have to step back and say, okay, if I'm getting jealous of somebody, why? What in myself am I self-conscious about? Or what am I struggling with? If I'm seeing somebody being fully themselves, dressed in drag, having a ball, just loving life, if that brings anger inside of me, what am I struggling with? Don't blame that other person because it's likely not something that they're doing. It's likely something inside of us. Maybe we wish we could be that fun and carefree. It's oftentimes not the other person. Sometimes it is. There are some people that are questionable.
You're viewing something, and if there's some sort of angst, if there's some sort of confliction of feelings inside that are rubbing you the wrong way, usually that's fear, misunderstanding, not really knowing what's going on. There's something
Yeah.
else happening inside
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible when I was listening to that. I wish I could remember her name. I will have to look it up and put it in the show notes to like quote her. It was just really incredible what she was talking about. It was all about like we've been sold a lie. And in the end, we just need to look inwards because a lot of times it just takes some introspection to say, wow, I am jealous of you. And that's because I wish I was doing what you're doing. That's an internal thing. That's not an external thing. Kaitlyn, I'd love to hear your values and how you're bringing those to the forefront of your business.
Like I mentioned, one of the core pieces of doing the rebrand to Skywater was sustainability. It's funny how like a lot of that still at its core in my mind still comes back to a lot of what you're already saying, just being kinder and loving. If we as people are able to be kinder to the earth, if we are able to be more loving in general, softer footprints, if we're able
Mhm.
to kind of come at everything from that perspective, then I think that the world would be a lot nicer of a place, a lot better off for everyone. For me, it kind of ties in together too, because nature doesn't judge us. We are who we are. Nature is also very colorful and vibrant and diverse. And there's all sorts of things that we don't even have the ability to understand fully everything that happens in nature. And so I love that rethinking through my brand and what I wanted my brand to stand for really allowed me to kind of bring all of those things together, like me caring for the queer community and being more authentic to myself, and also caring for the environment and improving our industry. It's just in general a very wasteful industry in a lot of ways. And that's not to say that it can't also still be beautiful if you're able to just cut back on a handful of things. That's a huge piece of where my brand is at right now. And I'm really, really leaning into sustainability, inclusivity, and diversity and seeing where that goes.
I love that. I think if anybody gets anything from this podcast is to like live in your own uniqueness because you deserve it and you are beautiful how you are and like lead with kindness and love. Come on. It's great.
Yeah.
I promise it's a good place to live. It's a great way to live your life. I promise.
Mhm. Yeah, and lead with curiosity, right? Don't
Yes, yes.
when I made my post the other day about myself is just if something makes you feel uncomfortable, it's not that uncomfortable is bad. It's more just clearly there's something there to explore.
Yeah.
Explore more about yourself, explore more, ask questions with the intent of being curious, not with judgment or anything like that. And even with sustainability, we've been talking about this in our organization about how can we bring certain values to the forefront of our business without putting on shame so much people, because
Mm,
people don't want to feel guilt when they're planning a wedding. They don't want to think
yes.
about their impacts necessarily. But at your core, wherever you're spending money with, that's going to have an impact on the world in some way, shape, or form. You're either supporting somebody that doesn't share the same values as you do, or you can make the intention from the start to work with minority business owners. You can make the choice from the start, even if you aren't queer, to work with a queer photographer, a queer videographer to support that organization. You can work with a company that donates to the same organizations or initiatives that you value in however that shapes out. So I think that that's really important these days.
I love that you were saying about if it's something that you want to support, hiring someone in that world is a great way to do that. If you're like, oh, I don't know how to support the LGBTQ community, hire someone who's in that community. That's a great way to support without
Yeah.
having to like go do anything crazy. Make small tweaks. Like we're not expecting people to do all these crazy big extravagant decisions. Just find small things that you can do that feel good to you that then also are still helping either certain communities or different initiatives that I think are valuable.
A lot of room for conversation in that gray area, hiring people that maybe have a different perspective than you, maybe working with vendors who are of color, even if you and your family aren't, hiring somebody that donates to an organization that you've always wanted to support, but you don't really know how to support that organization. There's just a variety of ways to go about all of that. The more that as a community we can continue chatting with other vendors to provide that extra perspective so that we can continue to learn together and grow together, I think is really important.
Yeah, learning together. That is key. We are learning and growing together. We are moving forward together. This is not us versus them. This is we're all going to go, we're all going to learn, we're all going to ask questions, we're all going to be curious, and we're going to figure it out together. But I'd love to dive into tips or tricks about if you're a new business owner and how to share your values. I know personally, as my own small business, it was scary and it is scary to be open and honest about who you are and to share those values that maybe are more political because it can push people away, right? If you're political one way or the other, it does deter or push people away, but it also opens up space for those that do align with you. So, what are maybe some tips and tricks for those of us that are newer?
I would advise first lots of self reflection and that you don't have to do it all at once. Just picking two or three initial values or programs, however you want to view it to start with, whether that means that you want to showcase your value of being more transparent, if you want to show a value for sustainability, if you want to show caring about diversity and inclusion, whatever that shapes out to be, if you're able to find just one or two pieces to start with, and then just slowly start easing into it. See, like, what are some of the simple changes I can make? What organizations can I join that are in my local community? What online courses can I take? Equally Wed has a great online course on how to be a better ally in the industry, how to change up language on your website and posting styled shoots in ways that isn't about just filling your calendar with more queer couples, but like doing it from an authentic place. That's really key. You can take a few steps, a few easy steps, and start there, trying not to be afraid to speak your truth and be your value, because everybody will have at least one experience of working with a non-ideal client for it to be the wake-up call. And unfortunately, I think that too many people who don't last in the industry are often people who are trying to be too vanilla. They are trying to please everybody. It's just a numbers game for them of trying to work with as many couples, document as many wedding days as possible, just to say that they did it or to make ends meet. And while that's not the worst thing in the world, it also can make you very unhappy. It can make you very burnt out and make you want to quit. I've definitely had some days that made me want to quit weddings altogether, which feels awful. Like it was like a pit in my stomach because I love this community. I love the industry. I love working wedding days and documenting things and being creative. But I think that if you do start saying yes to everybody, by trying not to deter people away, then you do just naturally end up being less happy in your business and your life. It becomes more stressful and inauthentic, and that's not really great for everybody. And it's honestly just a big disservice to couples that you're working with, because if you're not super excited and don't really have that like foundational connection with them, I think that can have a huge impact in the photos and videos received, the type of service that you offer. It makes a huge difference to their entire wedding day experience, which is pretty huge.
Yeah, it affects you as a business owner as well as the client. And then it also can impact like the guests and everybody else that's a part of it and other vendors that you're working with there. And it's just never a good experience in general. Like if you are not feeling your best or in your best moment because you don't like this couple or you're not comfortable with this couple or whatever, it affects everything. If you're a brand new baby business or you have been doing this for 30 years, starting to really diversify yourself is going to make you so much happier. And that's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and you're gonna attract so many great people to work with, even if you're not queer. And some couples that you work with might not be. Simple things like another photographer told me that because she had posted obviously lots of support for the community because she's not queer either, she actually ended up having a family come up to her at one of the weddings she was at and say that that was a huge value of theirs that they had and why they
oh,
hired her, even if the couple themselves weren't queer. It just goes to speak to, if you showcase your values in some way, shape, or form, that will come back in good, positive ways, that people will notice that you're speaking your truth, that you are showing support for things you care about in your business.
and I think that's true with being a person too, like business and person. You're going to end up starting to meet people that fit more with your values. You're going to feel more whole because you're hanging out with people that fill your cup and spend life the way that you want to spend it and believe in what you believe in. Living your truth and being in the forefront of your values and just being honest and transparent can really make a huge difference as a person and in your business. So do it. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, and take your time even. None of us are perfect in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
We're all on this journey to improve ourselves over time. So we're all bound to make mistakes. We're all
Mhm.
bound to do things that don't feel good. And really the only thing that I can say to that is just, be open to learning and be open to change, and that that there's a lot of exciting, joyful things that can come from that, from simple changes.
Amen to that.
And that's a wrap.
And that, seriously, honestly, I have really enjoyed talking about this. I'm really excited for our next couple podcast episodes. We will be interviewing some experts in the industry, bringing some new voices in here, really amplifying people that know what they're talking about and can really bring in some great insight into sustainability, LGBTQ inclusion, diversity, all of the great topics. So please stick around, come back to our next episode. Thank you for listening. Live your truth, see where that takes you. Because I think the more authentically you live and the more you surround yourself with that, the better your life will be and the better your business will be. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
So,
donate, volunteer, speak up, share posts online, even if they're not yours, reposting stuff other people have said. All of that is great. And we need all of that to help everybody improve the world.
don't be afraid. We love you. So thank you. If you have any comments, questions, if you just want to say hi, comment down below and we'll put some information of how to contact us in the show notes. Thank you. Bye-bye.